Greetings! It's spooky season, and there's nothing scarier than a haunted house in September. This is a critique of the haunted house at the Homecoming Carnival. I was actually a part of this project. It was put on by the theater department, and I'm not in theater, but I volunteered regardless. This video is not an attack on the haunted house or the people that put it on. Mistakes happen. People goof up, and I understand that. This video is so that next year, they can improve on the things they goofed up this year. The theater department had an entire month to plan this. That's a reasonable amount of time. It's unfortunate that they only utilized 1 week. I've heard this from someone, I don't know this for sure, but I've heard it from a very trusted source. But why? If this is true, they tried to plan this thing in a week. You can't do that. And only on Wednesday did they actually bring in actors and bring other people into the fold on their plan. Also, throughout the entire development of the haunted house, people were dropping in and out of the project pretty rapidly. Like, one day a bunch of people left, another day a bunch of people came in. It was crazy. It was people dropping in, dropping out, roles getting filled, getting unfilled. It was pretty crazy. I'm not sure what can be done to reduce the amount of dropouts. I'm not sure much can be done. Maybe incentivize people to stay with the project. I'm not sure what can be done. Alright, so fast forward to the day of the haunted house itself. Now, I show up, I'm all happy. I'm an actor. I'm a gorilla, actually. I show up, and they're like, hey, you. Yeah? What are you? I'm a monkey. So like, monkey man, you're gonna get face paint done. I'm like, whoa, that's radical. So I go to do my face paint, blah, 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 and there's a gray paint, and they're doing it's like, oh, face paint. And I'm like, hey, I don't feel so good. My face is stinging. Is that supposed to happen in the person who's putting on my face paint? It's like, oh, that's fine. Everything will be fine. It'll go away pretty soon. I'm like, all right. I trust them because they're actually in theater, and I'm not. I've never done any plays or theater or haunted houses, anything of that sort, so I wouldn't know. I'm assuming they would know more about the face paint than I would. And a few minutes pass, I'm like, hey, my face is still stinging. So I talk to someone else, and they're like, what do you mean your face is stinging? I'm like, well, it's stinging. It's like, well, does it hurt? I'm like, well, yeah, it's stinging. She's like, you need to wash that off right now. I'm like, wait, what? What? This is serious? I didn't know this was like a big problem. No one ever told me that. They like, yeah, you could be allergic. The face paint could be expired. There could be a myriad of reasons why that's bad. I'm like, oh, shoot. I gotta go wash off my face. So I run to the bathroom, I wash off my face, and I come back, and a theater officer goes up to me and is like, hey, are you a monkey? I'm like, yeah. She's like, where the heck is your face paint? I'm like, well, I removed the face paint because it stung my face. And she's like, oh, okay, put it back on. Like, what, excuse me? She's like, oh, well, we'll find another face paint. And like, well, we still don't know why the first one was stinging. Am I allergic? Like, I feel like this should have been tested for. I'm pretty reluctant to put on new face paint. In fact, I don't put on new face paint. We actually figure out that the face paint they were putting on me earlier wasn't face paint. There was actually a warning on the bottle that said, do not put on human faces. Oops. Hey, I didn't put on the face paint. Someone else put the face paint on me. So apparently what you're supposed to do with face paints is you're supposed to test it on your wrist first to see if it's expired or if you're allergic. That was never done. And this theater person was telling me, you need to put on the face paint. I'm like, I'm not putting on the face paint. I'm not. And then she's like, oh, fine. So I didn't wear the face paint. There wasn't even enough time to put on the face paint. Alright, in the days before the haunted house, we were told, hey, you know, you're going to be at school from 2:40 to around 6:30. So you might want to consider bringing something to eat. A lot of people were planning to go to the many nearby restaurants and stores near the school. So close to the school. You don't even have to drive. There's the CVS with all the snacks and all that stuff. There's the Subway, there's Lucky's, there's the Jack in the Box. I'm sure there are plenty of places I'm not even thinking of to go eat. So a lot of people were just planning to go there to get some food. Well, some officers like, you guys have 15 minutes to find food. And everyone's like, what? This is insane! No one planned for this. Nobody expected there to, like, not be a way for them to get food. It was not unreasonable for these people to assume they could get food from off campus before the haunted house. But it was just a bombshell dropped on us that we had 15 minutes to find food before the thing actually started. Nobody told us this. We were told to bring food, yeah, but a lot of people didn't know. It was like, oh, you have very little time to find your food and consume it. So the basic structure of the haunted house is it's kind of like a maze. There's a little path. A tour guide brings in a small group of people, like 5 people. I think there was one that was like 7 people. They go in, they go through the maze, led by the tour guide. There was also security people, which is basically just a safety officer, making sure people don't have panic attacks or don't slip and fall or anything like that. So yeah, that all makes sense. That's pretty basic. But the actual design of the haunted house itself, I did not like it. It was just long, black, mostly empty corridors, and it's just like, no, this is bad. They didn't use any smaller props. They didn't have much sound effects. They didn't have any real lighting to make these just empty halls interesting. Most of the haunted house, in fact, didn't use small props at all. There's a couple interesting large props people put a lot of effort in, and I liked them, but I would have rather had more small props than big props. In fact, the haunted house's design was based primarily on 2 large props and just actors to be scary. People aren't scary. You know, how scary are you jumping around like a monkey and when some girl's like, Ryan, is that you? That's not scary anymore. People just aren't that scary. Also, it doesn't help their case that, 1, the costume's really bad, and that's fine, but again, it was a heavy focus on actors being scary. The idea is that all of the actors would jump scare people. Well, it's kind of hard to do that when you have a bunch of other actors jump scaring people. Like, that's basically the entire haunted house. It's hard to do that also when there's a big door and there's some lady in front of the door like, oh, be careful out the door. Oh, it's a spooky door. I hope nothing comes out of the door. Ah! Oh no, something came out of the door. Okay, this isn't being mean to the actor or anything. This is being mean to the design of the haunted house, okay? It's not her fault that this is what she was told to do. Something else that I thought was funny is they're supposed to have spooky music. Spooky carnival music. Alright. And I walk into the haunted house and the first thing I hear, this sounds like music from Minecraft. Like, I'm sure it's not music from Minecraft, but it definitely sounded like it was music from Minecraft. I would have preferred something like this. Alright, this is a spooky carnival song, and I actually quite like it. It's better than the Minecraft music that they had. Don't you agree? You're probably wondering why I put such a heavy emphasis on the actors. Oh, the design is heavily actor-dependent. Did something go wrong with the actors? A few things. Less than a week before the haunted house opened, people were allowed to volunteer and join the haunted house project and sign up for roles. Across this entire time span before the haunted house, people were dropping in and out of the project like insanely fast and rapidly. Like, the board, one day there'd be a bunch of people on there, those people wouldn't be there anymore. They'd just be gone. Alright. And the next day, a bunch of new people show up. And even on the day of the haunted house itself, new people were showing up. So it was really hard to assign roles and to make sure people knew what they were doing and to make sure they had enough people for each role. The people dropping out continued to the day of the haunted house itself. Some people even showed up to the haunted house, participated for like an hour or so, and then they left. They just left. They didn't even say goodbye. Like, they literally abandoned their classmates by leaving without telling anyone. They are deserters, and I hope they know that. Most of the actors had no real reason for leaving. Maybe they just thought the haunted house was going to be a failure, so they left. Well, not all of the actors had no reason for leaving. One of them threw up because they were dehydrated. To be fair, that was their fault. We were allowed to bring water. We were encouraged to bring water. Almost everyone else had water. They could have asked us for water, but they didn't, so that's their fault. I don't think I can really, explain how bad this problem was of people dropping out of the project, even on the day that it was happening. People just left. And, okay, if you're gonna desert, fine, I guess. You're abandoning your classmates, you're being a deserter, but at least tell someone. right? So you can be replaced so they can plan accordingly. But no, they left, they told no one. That's just a massively stupid thing for them to do, and it just hurt everyone. Also, the people leaving resulted in roles getting shifted around. There was a role called security guard, and what their job was is basically just safety, making sure people don't have panic attacks, don't hurt themselves. That was their job. There were people that signed up for security guard, and they had to be an actor because of all the shortages of labor since everyone was just leaving without telling anyone. It was a pretty bad situation. But next year, I don't know what the theater department is going to do about deserters. Maybe the theater department could implement like a penalty for ditching. I don't know how they would enforce that, or how they would know someone left, or how they would know if someone went to the bathroom, or if they went to McDonald's and never came back. There wouldn't be a real way to find that out. So, what about the actors that did show up, who actually stayed until the end of the haunted house? Imagine that. How are those people? Well, a lot of them had 0 to 4 hours of training by the theater department, so that's always good. So, a lot of the actors wouldn't shut the hell up between groups of guests going by. That's kind of my fault. I'm sorry. I really am. I took the haunted house pretty seriously, but I couldn't help but talk to my colleagues. I'm sorry. There were 6 gorillas behind a door, and we're supposed to pour out of the door and go, ooh, you know? And we ended up falling on top of each other when we were supposed to go out of the door and then back into the door. It was very messy. We hurt each other by falling on each other and, like, hitting each other on accident. And then there's also the times that the other gorillas hit each other on purpose between groups of guests. I don't know why that happened. I don't know if you can really do much to prevent that, especially when you need all the help you can get. I also heard that an actor hit a guest, but I never saw it happen. I also heard that guests hit the actors, so with all the pain, is there really a way to prevent it? I don't know. The gorilla thing, yeah, that's a situation where that could have been prevented. We had 6 people trying to come out of a small space at the same time while jumping around and acting crazed. That is a recipe for disaster and injury. This was later remedied throughout the night. We spread out the gorillas. Well, the gorillas got reassigned because some people left, and the gorillas who were very noble and dedicated, we took up their place. Also, I made a bit of a mistake. Apart from talking, I committed the most horrible crime an actor can commit. Breaking character. The horror. What do you mean you broke character? Look, I'll explain it. Alright, so how it's supposed to work is the monkeys would be by the door, and when we saw guests, would jump out at them. Well, this time, the monkeys were just talking to someone, and I saw a group coming. And instead of doing the logical thing and saying, hey guys, like, there's a group of people coming, get ready, I opened up the doors without remembering what I was supposed to say, without even thinking. I just did it impulsively, and said, oh, I'm like a zombie or a monkey or something. Oh, darn. Obviously, I wasn't supposed to do that. And the group going by, in addition to the tour guide, they were accompanied by a theater officer. We're going to play a little bit of a game. How do you think this theater officer reacted to me breaking character? Did they A, continue the tour and talk to me after the tour was done in a calm and respectful manner? Or B, did they just ignore me and act like it never happened? Or C, did the theater officer yell at me in front of a group of guests and yank me by the collar and pull me out of the area and into a hallway where they yelled at me more and told me I was fired for messing up once? Okay, it was my fault I broke character. I shouldn't have opened the door without knowing what to do. I should have talked to my other colleagues and say, hey guys, let's get ready. I should have done that, and I didn't. And I told this officer, look, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. It won't happen again, I promise. So this officer yelled at me for breaking character, and also mad at me for not putting on face paint, even though the face paint stung my face. And remember, we still never tested the paint on me if I was allergic. That never happened. No one got tested if they were allergic to the paint. That never happened. So this theater officer continued to yell at me and scream at me and tell me I'm like the worst person ever, and then tells me I'm fired. Well, keep in mind, they're in the middle of a massive shortage of labor, and I just made a small mistake. So this theater officer storms off. Another theater officer approaches me and says, Ryan, you made a mistake. We're all stressed out. This isn't exactly going as planned, but you didn't make that big of a mistake. And eventually, in a calm, normal, professional manner, he told me I had one more chance. That's what should have happened in the first place. So I can't say the leadership was bad. A few leaders, yes, they were bad. A lot of leaders, they were calm and responsible, and they tried their best to make this haunted house work. And then there's the leaders that was like, you broke character! Even though you were never an actor before, and you've never done anything like this, even though we're in the middle of a massive labor shortage, and you just made a small mistake, you're fired, mister! There were officers that didn't act like that, and good on them for keeping calm in the middle of a stressful situation. So, I didn't lose my job. Yay for me. Oh, by the way, the answer was C. Throughout the haunted house, there were several communication issues. Several. One might say, yeah, but the officers, they had walkie-talkies to talk to each other. That's not quite what I mean. There was no clear way for actors to get information from officers. There weren't certain officers in charge of certain divisions. There was just the officers, and they were in charge of whatever they saw. And that works to a very limited extent. All the officers and leaders should be respected, yes, but they should only be responsible for certain parts of the machine that is this haunted house. Good communication would be good for relaying information like when a break was or when child mode was activated. Oh, child mode. I have to talk about child mode. I have to tell you what child mode was. Child mode was something that was activated whenever a child entered the haunted house. It's basically when the actors were told, hey, calm down, be less scary. Child mode is just stupid, alright? I'm not gonna lie, the haunted house wasn't particularly scary, and telling us to try to tone it down was just a massive mistake. You want these people to try as hard as they can to make this haunted house good. You don't tell them to tone it down. Also, it's a haunted house. We're not going up to random children on the street and terrifying them for no reason. They know what they're in for. They know what they're signing up for. It's a haunted house. You might get scared. A kid might cry. The parents know that, and the kids should know that. So there shouldn't be any need for child mode. Also, breaks. Breaks were a part of the haunted house. The haunted house would go on for like 2 or 3 hours, something like that. I can't remember exactly, but there were 2 or 3 breaks planned. And these breaks were spontaneous, best I could know. And these breaks were communicated by word of mouth and shouting. So the first break goes without a hitch. Everything's fine. But the second or third break, it's called, and then some officer is like, get back to your post. And we're like, why? It's break. It's like, I didn't know it was break. Literally, everyone thought it was break. Even someone called break. And one of the main people in charge didn't know it was break. So break was over. That's just stupid. That's something that could easily be avoided. Have predetermined break times. It's not that difficult. They shouldn't be called out on a whim. There were also a few smaller problems that couldn't really be solved or expected. A few lights went out and had to be replaced, and they went out again. Just stuff like that happened. Also, football coaches stormed in and stole one of the dressing rooms. So that was our school's 2018 haunted house. Could things be improved? Yes. Here are some of the things they need to improve. All they need to do is use all the planning time they could, test face paints and makeup prior to the haunted house, give people more time to find food, improve the design of the haunted house, find a way to discourage people from dropping out, have different officers clearly in charge of different departments, have better communication, have predetermined break times, and maybe a little bit more thought into promotion. If all these problems are addressed and solved, I'm sure next year's haunted house will be significantly better. Some people might say this was a disaster and everyone was completely stupid, But at the end of the day, a group of people got together and they made something. They did something. They created a product. They created an experience. And that's more than I can say about some people. Also, if I'm asked back, I'd be more than happy to help out with the haunted house next year.